to the day 3 Olympic trials reaction show. Noah Lyles is your men's 100-meter champion. Kenny Bednarik and Fred Curley are on the team as well. Christian Coleman goes home devastated for the second straight Olympics. As they said it best on NBC, Coleman missed the last Olympics with a drug suspension, whereabouts failure. This Olympics with performance. We'll break it down for you. It appears that Evan Jager is going to the Olympic team. Who would have thought at the beginning of the day that no one would have believed if I told you Evan Jager is going to go to Paris, but Hillary Bohr is not. But after Hillary Bohr falls, heroically tries to get back in it and runs out of steam, Jager finishes 4th, and it looks like he's going to be going to Paris, one last time shot at the Olympics after missing out 4 years ago. Kenneth Rooks is your men's steeplechase champion. Matthew Wilkinson second, but James Corrigan, the BYU guy who was only 9th at NCAAs, he's third, but he doesn't have a standard. So unless he gets the standard this week, Evan Jager will be an Olympian. In the chat, if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up right before we went on air. My computer crashed. We'll break that down. I'll be joined by Weldon and Jonathan soon. But let's start with the men's 100. Kyle P says it best. Where's the Rojo panic meter? I famously said Noah Lyles won't win a gold medal. Someone says I think a 4 out of 10. It's definitely higher than 4. But am I overly impressed by this race? No. I think it's going to take better than a 9.83 to win the Olympic gold. Marcel Jacobs won it 9.80, 3 years ago. So, Noah Lyles did everything he needs to do. But, it wasn't absolutely amazing. What I really wanted was Fred Curley on this team. So I'm extremely excited that he got on this team because I'm thinking who can beat Noah in the Olympics. And I don't think it's Christian Coleman. I've seen enough of Coleman in recent years. He has the great start. He fades. Maybe he can get bronze, but he's not going to win a gold. I've seen nothing from him that's going to make me think that he can win the gold. And Curley has not been racing. I'm like, if he gets on this team, he could scare Noah Lyles. So I really, really was watching him the whole time. All I was like, I need Curley to make this team. I need Curley to make this team if Noah's not going to win the 100. And Curley is on the team. I don't think Bednarik's probably going to win 100-meter gold, although it wouldn't totally shock me. So I was thrilled that Curley got it. Christian Miller, the high schooler, by the way, who didn't look good yesterday, was 5th, right behind the 5th guy in this field, 9.98. So congrats to him. Amazing run. But in other action, Quincy Wilson, the high schooler from Bullis in my native state of Maryland, or my new state of Maryland, runs another world under 20 record. I think it was 44.69, makes the final. How sick is that? Absolutely amazing. We'll break down the women's 800 semis. If I told you ahead of time that Thing Mo and Raven Rogers would win their heats, you probably wouldn't have been shocked by it, but they barely won their heats. Should they be worried? How worried should they be? The women's 800 finals is just going to be wide, wide, wide open. Kate Grace has dove into the final. Does she have a broken collarbone? Should she have been DQ'd? We'll analyze that. And Ajay Wilson, Adi Wiley, they've been eliminated. Sam Kendricks has won the pole vault. I'm sure there's some other things. As Outdoors 247 says on YouTube, are you not entertained? I found it extremely entertaining. The road to Paris, the world. Ironically, I've been complaining about the world rankings for months, and one of my favorite runners may get in because of it, but it's just annoying to have the broadcast and not the top 3. Like, this is one of the most dramatic things. It should just be top 3. Imagine if Corrigan was going to the Olympics, some guy you've never heard. By the way, NBC people, I actually am enjoying the casual fans production. You've got Snoop on there, Snoop Dogg. People who aren't watching in America, they've got Snoop Dogg on there. They got some stuff, for your person who's not really a big track fan. Like probably for my wife to understand track, and I'm enjoying it. But the camera angles are terrible. They do these close up on the turns of the sprints, and you can't tell who's ahead in the 400 coming out the lane. And they're never focused on third in these distance races. Like, focus on third. That's just as important as first. Normally, first is pretty far ahead. Let me see the battle for third. So Anyways, people are wondering where Weldon and John are, saying, I demand we do an interview Coleman. Coleman won't talk to us at World Indoors. He just said he wouldn't do it. So after the first day, I said, look, just someone tell Christian I'm not going to try to interview him. I don't want to cause a scene. But his dad South is a former podcast listener. So I wonder if he's listening live. I mean, I do feel terrible for parents. Like the stress, Otto Bolden said it best. Unless you've been a parent of an elite athlete or a coach of an elite athlete, you don't understand. It's way worse than running. You can't do anything about it. At least when you're running, you can kind of think that you have some control over it. But fun day. So um anyways, okay, Brendan, I'll say hi to Jonathan Galt for you. But it doesn't matter that the Steeple guys have a standard. These guys have world rankings. So unless like 3 or 4 people pick up the world ranking in the next week, they're gonna have it. I mean, Rooks' world ranking is way up there. Hardly anybody in the world has the world ranking. It's one of the few events. Um, Here it is, Road to Paris. So qualified by entry standard right now. They're taking 36 in the steeple. Um, right now, 21 guys have the standard, and then they're going to take 15 on world ranking. And right now, Hilary Bohr's 12th. Well, he's not in. Rocic is 16th. They're not in. Kenneth Rooks is 24th. Mason Furlix was 27th. Matthew Wilkinson's is 30th. And then Isaac Uckdike, Duncan Hamilton are also 30th. But Evan Jager was 33rd. So he's fine. Like you're going to take out 2 Americans. He's 31. They're not going to have 5 guys from other countries vault him up. Um, this week. So I think that Evan Jager is in. So let's go. Anyways, so I'm talking about someone complaining about the swimming thing. So where to begin? I mean, I pretty much broke down the 100. I was watching it and I thought, okay, I was really Coleman. I mean, Lyles and Curley were next to each other, which is what I want. And I thought, I guess neither one of them is known as being a great starter, but I kind of thought Curley was basically a similar start to the Lyles, which I thought was pretty good. And then I thought, okay, they got a shot, but then Coleman was way ahead. I mean, Coleman's last 30 meters were terrible. I don't know if he got nervous or if he's just totally the Grand Holloway of the 100 of the flat 100, because I mean he was way ahead of Fred Curley with 20 meters to go, and he ends up fourth. So just I actually people think I'm enjoying that for Coleman. It's not. I don't have anything against him. Like I said when he missed the first 3 tests and got off on a technicality, he needed to be super serious and take a drug test every day for the rest of his career to prove to people he's clean. And then he got another suspension, another missed test, missed the Olympics. And then since he's come back, he's pretty good, but he's not winning world titles. So it does make more people think, what was happening back in the past. But all right, enough 100 talk. This is mainly a distance site. Let's go to, I guess, in the order that they occurred. Because Weldon and we probably want to talk more about the steeple final. I assume that actually I know what's happening right now. What's taking so long? The reason why they're not in the show right now is they're interviewing a steeplechase finalist. I mean, the Olympians. It takes forever. It takes like an hour. So I was thinking we could go live right at 11, and they'd be done because they could be on because the men's 100 guys won't come in until later. But anyways, women's 800 semis first heat. And I saw something on Twitter. People like Heat A is the heat of death, and I'm like, no, I'd love to be in Heat A because you're going to get 5 finalists from Heat A, and you did. So even though there's 3 lanes and 9 finalists, they do top 2 from each heat and the next 3 finalists. To be honest, I think I'd rather just see top 3 from each heat. But I thought Michaela Rose is in that heat. She always takes it out hard. They're going to get a fast time. And that was the only heat that was anywhere close to being honest. And, heat 1, they go out and Michaela Rose takes it out in 57.75. Thing Mo did not go with that. She was back in second, 58.55. And that was fascinating to me. I'm like, okay, she's taking a safety, but clearly she's not the Thing Mo of 2021. This is clearly a woman who's bothered by her hamstring or missed a lot of time. She's not super confident. Because back in the day, dude, 57.7, that's no problem for her. She would not have had a 6-meter gap between her. So I was fascinated by that, but I kind of assumed she would just run down Michaela Rose. And it looked like, 700 meters, like nobody was going to run down Michaela Rose. But Michaela Rose's last 50 is like Christian Coleman's last 20. She just keeps falling apart. I mean, if you're tying up in the 800, you can cough up a huge lead. So it, it was just kind of fascinating to watch. Um, and Rose was way ahead, but then all of a sudden, you've got Whitaker and Mew coming up, and um, I wasn't sure who was going to get the top two spots. And basically, and Kate Grace was coming up. So, it was just really tight. And they passed like Rose right before the line. And then Grace passes her on the inside, dives into the timing board. And, in the end, it looked like 20 meters from the finish that Mew was not going to be up there. And then she ends up winning the heat 158.84, Grace 158.97, Rose 159 flat, Whitaker 159.58, Schofield 2 flat 64. They all make it. But my first instinct was, okay, Thing had to work for that. By no means should anyone be confident she's going to make the team. She's got to come back tomorrow. If she's got a hamstring problem, it could be harder to do it on back-to-back days. Um, is it tomorrow? Someone look at the schedule. Yeah, I think it's the last event tomorrow. So, I don't think there's a lot more in the tank. I was fascinated in her post-race interview on NBC. She said, I don't want to kill myself. Top three is as good as making the team. Well, I don't know if she means like kill herself by kill her hamstring. Yes, you don't want to get injured, but she needs to be more aggressive, I think. She's got to go for it more. She can't sit back. And I don't think she wants to do anything stupid, but you don't want to spot these women in the field 5, 6 meters in the final. I don't think she's good enough to make the team that much better than them. So fascinating, fascinating, fascinating. Um, so when it finished, I was like, okay, is Kate Grace going to get disqualified for that? I went to the forum, people like, there's got to be a DQ. And I'm like, yeah, there's got to be a DQ too, right? I mean, so Michaela Rose had the lead. She was in the middle of lane one. She never left her spot. Kate Grace did not have room to pass her, and Kate Grace just slams into her side, pushes her at the finish line, basically, and slams into the video board. And but then I got out the rule book and was trying to find the right language. And when I was reading it, someone, if you're a track and field expert, posted in the chat. I was like, well, technically, it might not be a rule book. Like, I was kind of thinking, like, it did not slow down Rose. Like, if anything, she pushed Rose forward right at the finish. And, if this happens 10 meters out from the finish, it's definitely a DQ for me because you can't just run through somebody and throw their stride off. But if you're pushing them right at the finish, it didn't impact anything else. Although you get by her, though, by fouling her. But see, Rose gets in on time. So I was kind of thinking they should honestly see what happens, see if this was going to impact the times. They both would have gotten in. So I'm glad no DQ was involved. But if this is the final, God, I think you've got to, I don't know, man. This is really tough because you're doing it right at the finish line. You don't step off the track until you're past the finish line. So very interesting. I would want to see the rule book and that. But, at this point, I'm glad she's in the final. Fascinating story. She had a kid less than a year ago. Now she's in the final. Great run for Kate Grace. I mean, Kate Grace and Allie Wilson were the only two women I saw really step it up today. Amazing run. But, when you look at the actual rule book, the rules I was reading was like, did you impede another runner? And I'm like, I'm not sure if she impeded Michaela Rose. Someone's like, you can impede someone from behind. Yes, you can. But if you're, I guess you could say you're impeding Michaela Rose from holding on to the auto spot. Did by hitting her from behind, did she prevent Michaela Rose from holding on to the auto spot? Yes, because she didn't have time to go around for her. So by that logic, although she didn't really actually hold her back, it's like this is like we need like a Supreme Court justice to define what impede means because she didn't really slow her down, but she kept her from keep holding on to the auto spot by fouling her from behind. So I guess by that logic, that would be a DQ if it was the final. So, yeah, but she has not been disqualified. Fred Curley is clutch. Never doubt Fred. Looking at some of the comments. How did Grace finish ahead of Rose if she didn't impede her? Well, how is it impeding somebody if you bump them forward from behind, but you're going faster? It's like, I was in a car accident the other day. Someone hit me from behind, but if they hit me from behind, I move forward a little bit and they move forward even more. Is it really impede? Anyways, that was heat 1. Heat 2 was, you know, interesting. You got Raven Rogers, Sage Herder-Klecker, Allie Wilson. And I just thought, like, okay, maybe they think they're not going to run 159. They see the first heat. There's not a really noted front runner here like Michaela Rose, but nobody wanted to go out hard. They were super slow for 200 meters. And then Allie Wilson takes off 59.88. She gapped the field. I mean, that's not even fast. And everybody else is like running for second, basically. And I'm getting the heats wrong. Sorry. I don't even remember who took this heat out. I'm getting two. This is the Alger Wilson heat. I'm sorry. My eyes are failing me at midnight here. But heat, none of these heats went fast. So the second heat, I forgot who took it out. Herder-Klecker basically took the lead right after the bell. I remember that part. So 59.85. Yeah, she had the lead at the bell. And, it's like, okay, the time qualifier is out the window. Who's getting top 2? And you've had just a really, Herder-Klecker was up front, but you see in these races like why some of the 1500-meter girls who've got the fast times are not good at the 800, just because they can't close very well. And she starts to tie up, and you see Ajay Wilson, two of the greats of American history, and Raven Rogers behind her. They're both kind of moving up. And Ajay, she's like Centrowitz. Even when she's tired, she never breaks form. But you could tell she kind of had this smile / grin. She was trying, but it's not like this. You want to see them like fight and tie up, but it's just they have beautiful strides. When they're tying up, you could tell she was working hard. She's never going to look like you or I just flailing. And I was like, oh God. And then Ajay couldn't do it. Herder-Klecker holds on. Rogers passes her 201.08 to Klecker's 201.11. Ajay Wilson 201.25, eliminated. It's sad. She's one of the great U.S. 800 meters of all times. If it wasn't for the intersex runners, the XYDSD, basically, she's one of the few gold medalists in the past. She really lost out to having to compete against sort of almost biological men. And now she's not going to the Olympics. We've never really found out what her health issues have been over recent years, but she's not going to Paris. We're now being joined by the great Jonathan. Well, John, I've been talking about the 800 heats, struggling to read in the dark color here tonight, but I've gotten through the first 2 heats. Let me get through the third heat, and then I'll get to the your overall takes on the day. The third heat, Allie Wilson to me was the only woman I thought, wow, she really brought her A game, and she just it wasn't going fast, so super slow the first 200, and then she just takes it 59.88 at the bell. And nobody was near. Like Nia Akins was third at 60.69. Like it was a joke of a heat. And I'm like, okay, you're not top 2. You're not going. Wilson, and having seen, the previous heat, the first heat when Rose got walked down, I'm like, okay, are they going to walk Wilson down here? Because you can lose a lot of ground if you're tying up. But Wilson didn't really tie up. 2 flat 29, wins the heat comfortably. Nia Akins, who I expected to be a lock for this team, I mean, she did beat Sammy Watson and Charlotte Hoffman for second, 2 flat 87, but I was by no means overly impressed by her, and she makes the final spot. So looking at this field, honestly, I don't know what to expect for the final. I mean, I thought Athing Mo would make it. She did have the fastest time of the day by a decent amount, but everybody else was so unimpressive. I mean, Allie Wilson and Grace really stepped it up, but can Grace do it twice in a row? I don't know, but she's a ferocious competitor. Is Mew going to be hurt? Is her hamstring going to be bothering her again? I don't know. I would think Mo would step it up. Rogers and Wilson maybe at this. What about Akins? I don't know. The way I view it, though, I think everybody on this field can make this team, except for Christy Schofield. The other 8 women, I think, can make it. Whitaker, maybe not. Okay, why would I think Whitaker would make it? But definitely 7 of the 9 can make the final. Am I off, John?
Well, yeah, I think the interesting thing here is Athing Mu's no longer a lock. We kind of assumed she was going to be. And look, I still think she will make the team, but she's not like, oh, just lock her in. She's definitely making it. So, yeah, and looking at the other finalists, Grace can definitely make it. Rose can make it. I think Whitaker could make it. I mean, 159.5, that's got to be her fastest time since high school. Rogers can make it, Herdeklecker can make it, Wilson can make it, Akins can make it. I would say the only one I would doubt is Christy Schofield. All the other ones have got a shot. But
And
I'm going to have to
it's
go in a
kind of
second here.
interesting. Oh yeah, I think Whitaker can make it. She won NCAAs. What am I thinking? Of course she can make it. So 8 or 9, I would say. You got to go get your exclusive with Christian Coleman.
So,
Is that right, John?
I don't know if anyone got an exclusive with Christian Coleman. Did he stop in the mix on? Well, did you see?
I didn't see him. I didn't see Ajay Wilson. I didn't even see Nia Akins. A lot of people skipped out.
Yeah.
I was going to hand my phone to somebody else just so someone could record Christian because he won't speak to us. And, if you're him, you got to be one of the most bummed guys in the world right now, right? Like, I mean, it gets to do the relay, but any other country in America, you're on the Olympic team and you've got a shot at a gold medal.
That shot of him sitting on the first turn by the finish is just, that is the devastation of the trials in a nutshell. You work your entire life for this. His first opportunity, the Olympics. Well, 2016, he made the relay pool, but he was still a college kid, didn't make it individually. 2021, he's suspended for the whereabouts failures. This was perhaps his last chance to get on a team. Who we'll see where he's at in 2028. He's 28 years old, so it's hard to make the
No, John,
Olympic 100 team in your 30s.
It's devastating from a personal standpoint. I mean, right? If COVID doesn't happen, he probably wins the Olympics in 2020. Didn't he win? He won 2019 Worlds, right?
Yes, he did win 2019 Worlds. He would have been the favorite going into 2020 Olympics, and I mean, God, it's just there's nothing else to say. It's devastating, and that's why this meet is so great, because the stakes have to mean something. And if you're fourth and you're not devastated, that means that the top three doesn't really mean that much. And so I feel my heart goes out to him because I wouldn't want anyone to ever experience that feeling. It's just brutal, but that's the sport.
Yeah, I mean, he got screwed by COVID, then kind of screwed by Chipotle, and now this. But and the crazy thing is, honestly, well, I don't think Coleman could have won gold, but the U.S. could go 1, 2, 3 in that event. He could have easily medaled. They could sweep the medals. So it's just a tough team to make. Now, I wanted to ask you guys, what did you guys think of the Kate Grace thing? I mean, when I watched it, I'm like, by the letter of the law, I think it's a DQ. I don't want her to get DQ'd. I've seen this before when you're diving at the line, like. And the rule book talks about impeding someone. So did she technically impede Michaela Rose? I think she fouled her, but I don't see how she impeded her because she pushed her forward right at the line.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if this wasn't, if this had an impact where Rose didn't get the time qualifier, maybe we're talking about a protest right now. I don't know. I watched it a couple times. I thought it kind of was a foul, but in this situation, they both made the final anyway. I mean, I think Kate Grace, any foul she committed, she paid for it with the scrapes and the falling on the track. So, I think the best situation is that they both advanced. But if that had been for the final spot in the final, I think Rose might have a case for a DQ, but I need to examine the evidence a little more.
The more I think about it, she's not impeding her, and if you dive across the finish line and win the race, I think that should be rewarded. But I guess you could say she didn't have space to get there. Therefore, she's not impeding her time, but she's impeding her from winning the race, or she's impeding her from taking the final auto spot. So it's kind of interesting. We needed to text our rules experts.
Robert,
but
I've got to go here. They're about to do the 100-meter press conference. Weldon is going to take over. I'm going to be in the room, but he's going to join the stream in a second. So be back after the press conference.
And your Olympic trials champion in the combat fighters first 90.
Hello, Joe.
I muted you. Hello.
Roger, you hear me?
Yes. So, all right, let's hear it in the chat. Let's hear it from you. Who makes the 800-meter team? I mean, I don't even know who to pick now. When I was originally coming into the trials, I had picked. Let's see here. I picked Offing Mo, Nia Akins, and Sage Herdeklecker. That was my 3, but I didn't think Akins looked incredibly good today. It's probably smart, run a conservative race, so I guess I shouldn't doubt Nia Akins. But Mu ran the fastest time. Okay, I'm fine, but I'm not confident in Herdeklecker at this point. I guess I would go with Allie Wilson over her for 3rd.
I mean, I don't know what happened with the Nia Akins. That was sort of the big question mark for me today. Ajay Wilson not making it, not a huge surprise for the way she's been running. Wish we could talk to her because she really hasn't been herself the last couple of years. Raven Rogers, somehow the last 100 meters at Hayward Field, she almost always has it. It's really pretty much astounding. Um, I think as John said, 7 of the 8 have a decent shot of making this team. I don't know how you can say decent, but it wouldn't shock me if any of them made the team. Wow, people are saying Allie Wilson here in the chat. I had a lot of question marks about a thing, Mo. I don't know did John talk about her at all? Sounds like she wasn't running much until March, or maybe she had the injury in March. I really wish John was here to give the full details. But John was sort of speculating maybe that she hasn't been running much at all. I mean, just to sort of a hint. That's what was kind of. He's like, is that what she might imply after the race? I mean, you're sort of trying to read between the lines what's going on, but it's not the thing, Mo, that we know. I mean, we're staring at the possibility that none of the big three make this team, right? I mean, Mo, Ajay Wilson, Raven Rogers, they've been the standard bearers in this event. And I mean, it would just be shocking if Athang can't make the Olympics. I think by the Olympics, she'd be ready to go. But that's, the brutality of these trials.
Oh, don't give World Athletics any hope. It wasn't about only protecting the stores. This event is one of the great. We need more track meets that matter. This one matters. So yeah, she hasn't been running, but she still had the fastest time today. So I think she'll. God, I don't know. That's tomorrow. If she's still bothered by the hamstring, that's going to be an issue. So, all right.
Didn't she get beaten her heat? She didn't have the fastest time, did she?
Yeah, she won the heat. She ended up winning the heat, which is hard to believe.
Oh, wow. I just kind of assumed she was second.
Does Mew quit the sport if she doesn't make the team? No, Adam, no. She's got so much money on the line. It's like Joachim Engelbert. I told people, I don't know if I like her. Look, what else are you going to do? You make hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's going to be a home Olympics in LA where you live. She may switch coaches, but no way. Why would she quit? Like money talks. Like most people don't have, a way to make well north of $500,000 a year for.
No, Robert. She could be making, I assume, over $1 million a year. And you guys know how old she is? I believe she's almost the exact same age as Nico Young. I think they're born in the same month. Look that up. I think they're both 21 years old. Is that right? 22? I think they're born within the same month of each other. But no way she quit the sport. She's got a home LA Olympics 2028. So much money on the line. I mean, she's been in the sport for so long. Who knows? I mean, maybe if I would spark her on or something. But I think there's like essentially a zero.
Oh,
I should never say
everybody
zero.
likes to be
1% chance she quits.
People love to be the underdog. People love to be doubted. It would be more fun for her to come back as the hunter, to be the hunter and the hunted. And in terms of jobs, you don't have to love running. There's plenty of people who don't love their job that do it because they get paid handsomely for it. So Nico Young was 21 years and 333 days old, and I looked both of them up at the same thing. So he was born in July 27, 2002, and they're 1 month apart. She was born in June in 2002, so she just turned 22 on June 8th. Happy birthday, I think. So, all right.
Robert, hit the button. Make us big screen.
No, one thing that does help. One thing I hadn't thought about this: back to back is not good for the sprint-based runners. Now, I think Mo, was one of the top 3 1,500-meter runners, so she's got good endurance. But the more I think about this is not good for Michaela Rose at all. She's got to run a race tomorrow. It's great for Serge Sator to collect her. I mean, she's a distance runner in the 800. So, wow, maybe I should reanalyze this 1,500. I think it was smart for Nia Akins to take it easy. Wow, her to collect her. Again, I really think that 8 of the 9 women can make it. It's going to be really interesting tomorrow.
You thought Nia Akins was taking it easy, Robert? Come on.
I don't know. I think some people may have just been cautious. It seemed weird to me that you wouldn't go out.
Might have been cautious.
Let's talk about the men's steeple. We haven't talked about the steeple. on the show yet, and I wish I remember what lap it was, but I think they were on commercial when it happened on NBC. But the race went out like 3 flat for the first kilometer. They were jogging. I'm like, someone often falls when it's this slow. Now I didn't see what happened to the fall, but one of the water jumps in the middle of the race. Anybody know what lap it is? Put it in the chat. Board just, I'm not even sure. Did he get hit from behind? Did he just he? I noticed in the first water jump he doesn't step on it. He just hurdles it. But somehow he went face forward and went down. And then I haven't had a chance to look at the replay because I was getting ready for this live show. And it seemed to me that he didn't do what Rooks did last year, which is take his time to get back up there. He panicked, ran and got up into third, and then ran out of steam in the last 200. And they weren't really showing a good job at NBC, but I'm like, oh my God, that's Jaeger behind him. Jaeger's fourth. He might make it. So Jaeger ends up fourth, but the college kid does not have the standard. James Corrigan, congrats to him. I think he had like an 8:30 PB. He runs 8:26 up that slow opener, 3:01 first kilometer, 2:48, 2:37 on the way home. And he really has no way of going to the Olympics unless he can run 8:15 between now and next Sunday. So, because his world ranking is non-existent, he has no like bonus points. He's been running over 8:30 in the steeple, whereas Jaeger's world ranking is I think he was the NACIC champion in like 2022. Normally, 2022 race wouldn't happen, but regional champion wouldn't count for your Paris rankings. But regional championships count until the next Olympiad, so he gets a big bonus there, and he looks safe on this. But you had, I mean, it was kind of interesting who was fifth and sixth. Yasin Sato of Virginia was fifth. Duncan Hamilton sixth. I mean, these were guys that were like lucky to be in the final. It was just normally you don't see that in the steeple, like a tactical steeple. And it's kind of weird. It doesn't really matter, slow or fast. They end up running similar time. I mean, 8:21. That would be good for most of these guys in this race. For Rooks, it's really not that good. Rooks has got to be in sub 8:10 shape, I think. So he dominated. We won, but he tired up a little bit at the end. 1.08 seconds. But Matthew Wilkinson, the former D3 star, ran a year at Minnesota, Under Armour Dark Sky. Is that another Stephen Haas guy? God, Stephen Haas really does know how to coach. They get their first U.S. Olympian. I don't even know if this is their first track Olympian or not. But before the Brooks Beast have a U.S. track Olympian, pretty impressive. Congrats to them. My boy Anthony Rotich is only 8th. Nathan Mountain, 12th. Boer, you got to give him credit, though. What a warrior. He got up into third on the last lap and just fades all the way to 13th out of 14 on the way home.
Well, Boer was in third with 100 to go. Got past. I think he just was spent. It's like the goal's top three. I don't think anything left. And you sort of talked about it. I think he probably fell on the third to last water jump. Is that right? I'm not sure if that's right. But Jaeger afterwards, so a couple interesting things. Jaeger came to the mix zone and was depressed. And I'm like, am I going to break the news to him that he's most likely going to the Olympics? And Sarah Lords Butler finally asked the question, but like Sidious guys weren't, they just were taking Jaeger's word that he's out. We're like, no, you may get it. Jaeger's like, I understand, that Corrigan may not get to go, but he's like, he can chase it, right? So Jaeger sort of knows how this works. But okay, two things there. One, Corrigan's like, I don't plan on running a steeple. Plans on not doing a race. He's like, well, I'll talk to my coach. He's like, I don't think I would. He said, well, maybe I guess I'd talk to the coach. Why not? Right? You just organize some race somehow. I mean, it's probably impossible. No. The question would be, does Rooks pace him? But I'll get the Rooks. And is it Corrigan or Cordigan, Robert? I don't know how to say his name. Like, this guy was a non-scorer at the NCAA meet. I mean, it's unbelievable that he got third here. But he works out with Kenneth Rooks. And in the last workout before coming to Eugene, Kenneth Rooks said he had one of the better workouts of his life. And James came right by him on the last rep. And he's like, holy crap. And Ed Eistom's like, dude, that's a good workout. Don't worry about it. So clearly he was very fit, very confident. And the one thing Jaeger said, he's like, if I get to go to the Olympics, once I get there, I'll feel better about it, but wish I'd sort of earned my spot more directly. He plans on keep running, most likely, he said. If he's really struggling, he might have considered calling it a year. But he said with Bohr, he was surprised. He said after Bohr fell, he came, got back up too quickly. Then also when Jaeger said Bohr flew by him with 200 to go, I thought he meant on the final lap, and he's not going to be able to hold that. That's just too much. And I think the experience showed off there. And Jaeger said, he was thinking the whole time top three until the final 100, and he was aware. He's like, I sort of realized. I'm like, hey, that college kid doesn't have the standard. He's like, I got to hold on and get fourth. So I don't, So one of the athletes today in the mix zone said, people make plans and God has his own ideas. I don't think this is how Jaeger drew it up, but he gets to be an Olympian. Great for him. But I mean, what a run in third place by Corrigan. So,
So, I mean, looking at Corrigan, this guy is wild. So I assume he's on a morbid mission. He has nothing before January of 2023 in his BYU thing. He was 32nd at NCAA cross this year, in the fall. And then, he won the Big 12 steeple. He ran 8:29, so 8:29.24 was his PB before tonight. But he goes to, NCAA's, he ran 8:28 in the prelims, 8:28.84, but it was only ninth in the final, 8:29.61. So it doesn't score at NCAA's, finishes third here. I mean, it's really wild that he could do it. Now, Weldon, I don't know if I put that up in the chat. People, according to Joseph Moore, people on the boards have done the math. And this is why the Let'sRun.com forum is the most amazing forum on the internet. People, you need to go into the forum every day. People on the boards did the math, and then after the trials, he'll have 1,170 points. If he runs the World Athletics Continental Tour event and uses Uzbekistan, he can probably qualify with an 8:20ish in that meet. Now, does he have to win it? What time does he need to run? Does he need to win the race? How many bonus points? I'll pay for the flight. I will personally pay for the. No, wait, I want Jaeger to go though. Huh. I still think it'd be cool if he. I'll crowdsource the fight. I'm not paying for it out of my own pocket. My wife would be mad. But
no, BYU should pay for the flight, and he 100%.
Wait.
When is the Uzbekistan meet? He needs to go immediately. Get on the plane. When's the meet?
He could do it because his ranking was really low. But I was looking at the 830s. He ran 8:21 in the prelims. So the problem is he doesn't have a lot of bonus points. And you don't get bonus points for the prelims. Like if he had run 8:21 today in his place, I bet he'd be in. But he ran 8:21 in the prelims. But his world ranking's going to get a big boost. So I put Evan Jaeger with an asterisk. Maybe Evan Jaeger doesn't make it. Maybe this Corrigan guy does do it because, he was pretty good today. But congrats to Wilkinson as well. I mean, his interview was great. Lewis Johnson did tell Corrigan he was going to the Olympics, but they didn't interview him. I think he knew not to interview him because it was too complicated to explain to the viewers. So he just you guys are going to Paris. See you later. And then Corrigan didn't get to say anything.
Right, Jonathan Galt is here. Wish we're going to stance John's better backdrop, but
yeah, it's also easier if we.
Wait, John. People on the message boards.
Walk way up there.
Yes, there's a. Let's walk. We'll walk and talk. There's a World Continental Tour race in Uzbekistan. Someone find the date on that. and if Corrigan gets, they think he runs 8:20ish. What is 8:20-ish? And I hope, are these people factoring in his prelim time, because his prelim time was great. That was a 7-second PR, and before this year he'd only run 8:52 in the steeple.
Okay, we need to do all the math on this, but I did confirm with USATF. I said, can you chase a time before the end of the trials? They said yes. There's Ed Icestone, by the way. Coach of the 1.
Wait,
because I was texting him about that. Actually, we should ask him right now.
Ed, we're live on the Let's Run podcast. There's a steeple meet in Uzbekistan.
We're doing a live podcast right now. I want to know, is there any chance that James Corrigan might be able to chase the Olympic standard?
There is. We've already worked on it. There's going to be something happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about
Uzbekistan?
I haven't heard of that one, no.
People on the message board said he only needs to run about 8:20ish if he goes to that meet and does it. What day is it?
I don't know. Oh, the date? I'll text Ed.
I don't know. I don't know that.
What's the travel to Uzbekistan?
I don't know. Isn't there a protected window for national championships next weekend? Boy, do you have a second to talk about the race? Do you mind?
Yeah, we can do whatever you need.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
I was going to take Kenny.
I'll go get Kenny.
You know where he is?
I'll find him.
Okay. Did they take him in that direction?
I think they took him down.
Yeah, try to get through.
I won't be able to find
Can the U.S. Steeple champion eats Jersey Mike's right after winning the national title, if you wanted to know?
Should.
So wait, can you explain this? How the hell did James Corrigan get third place in this race?
Did you see him in the prelims? He looked really good in the prelims.
He did, but he looked great at the prelims and NCAA's, and that didn't go that
He
well.
did, and he was tired. And I had great expectations for the finals at NCAA's, but it wasn't to be.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe because it wasn't to be, he had a little left in the tank here. And we did things a little bit different in terms of recovery. Not that we made sure, okay, after the prelims, don't finish as strong, because he probably could have run a couple seconds faster here. So I think he held back a little bit, and then we made sure he got some protein and carbs in right away. He was in the recovery boots for 24/7 for the last 2 days. All the little things, but it wasn't that different at NC's either. It wasn't like he was out partying until midnight.
Yeah.
So some days, you know how it is. Some days you have it, some days you don't. And he had it today. After seeing him in the prelims, and he was feeling just loosey goosey, you know. And with the college guys, we didn't get real technical on him. It's like, have fun. And if Kenny or somebody else goes hard, then you've got a really good kick.
Yeah.
Be aware that there's going to be some debris out there, and just roll them up.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit, I didn't think Kenneth would go quite that early. So I was concerned about, holding on that second lap. And once it looked like they maybe taking a little bit of run on him, Wilkinson was closing a little bit, but then once I realized, okay, he's got it in the bag, then I glanced back, saw, I think James, about 250, 300 to go, he was still fourth, fifth, but he's moving like a freight train, and he can close just as fast as Kenny for one lap. Can't do it for 2 laps, but he can close fast for 1 lap. And I just started saying, he's on the team. 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 And it was all James. We were making fools out of ourselves. He's on the team, and he was still in fifth place.
Yeah.
But he was rolling.
Well, we were watching it. I was like, at the bell, I looked at like the top 6. I'm like, all right, these guys are going to be battling for the team. And then suddenly he comes out of nowhere. I'm like, where the heck did this guy come from? So
he has a really good punch.
Can you tell me about the workout on Friday right before you guys left? Because Kenneth said that was the first time James ever hung with him, and he passed.
Yeah, I didn't know that he'd share that. He shared that after the race.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And that had me a little bit, just because I was going, it's Kenny. I mean, it was a very good round. It's just this typical 12-8, 12-8. Every other, with the 1200s, we go the first and the third one over barriers. 800, we go the second lap over barriers. And so 12-8, 12-8, alternating hurdles. And then I wanted them to squeeze a little bit on the last, because we're within a week, right? So I wanted to not kill that, but I wanted that. Awesome race. How come you didn't take from the gun we were waiting for? That was very fun part. You got the job done. Congratulations. So I told Kenny before, I said, you move, just go with authority. And I said, the later, the better. Well, when you let go, that's not the later. That's like, really? Okay. Done that at Sound 2. He moved about 2 flat on his last 800. So when he went hard, I focused on him and then wanted to shoot. He didn't die a little bit last, from the last lap.
Yeah.
When I am holding other than I just saw, just come the 12-8, and on that last 100, I like him to roll it. Like, this is like the end of the race. Let's see what we can do. And James stuck with Kenneth, and then passed it, and then finished 60 on the 800 hurdles. It was like 64, and I kind of went, okay, I hope that didn't damage his psyche a little bit. But I think it was the positive, thing that he took back, and obviously.
Was Kenneth beat after that, or
that worked?
Kenneth made it like it was a good workout, or he maybe.
No, Kenneth went. Well, that was because the truth. Kenneth left 12, 4, and was winning seconds. Second better than him on that. So, anyways, it's kind of a Bush League thing that the young guy where he just hangs back from the guy. The whole workout throws his drawers off at the end. So, but Kenneth's such a nice guy. He was not. He didn't get mad at him or anything. So I think it was actually good for both of them, because it was kind of a confidence boost to James after having a stinker of a final at NCAA's and finishing 9th. And it was kind of a little wake-up call probably to Kenneth, too, that maybe I should go with 2 laps to go instead of 1. But
wow.
So wait, if you guys don't go to Uzbekistan, where will we go race?
I don't know that can we announce anything yet?
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a meet. And so just there is a meet if people want to look on the schedule, I think it's on there. It's a meet out there, but until we get
certified.
yeah, it's World Athletics certified, and we need to talk to some people, but I have it on good authority that it's probably going to happen, and there's going to be an opportunity for
Uzbekistan
best
is
people
June
there.
29th and June
There may be
30th. It looks kind of hot though.
showing up to help James fast time, and there may be other steeples who want to run a fast time. So
What'd you say, Robert? So
Uzbekistan is
James
June
was an
29th
852
and June
steeple
30th.
before this year? Yeah. He only ran it
he only ran a couple
three
times. I mean, he's a really good distance guy. He's always wanted to just run, 5,000, and even this year there had to be some talking about, okay, let's commit to this and see how good we can be, because he ran 1340 last year. Second guy out of the national regionals in the tough West region, so he's a good 5K runner. And but obviously if you're a good, and he's a great cross country runner, he's an all-American cross country. In fact, my two all-Americans in cross country, Kenneth Rooks, James Corrigan. Yeah, they finished within a few seconds of each other, a few places of.
Yeah. Well, can 2024 get any better? You go 1-2 at the marathon trials, 1-3 in the Olympic trials, and the steeple.
Could have got 1-2 here, got a little better.
All right.
You know what? We still have to get the time.
Yeah.
But regardless if he gets the time or not, well, what a memory, Coach Wade and myself.
What's that?
I say, what a memory for Coach
Yeah.
Wade and myself. We want him to be in Paris, and obviously he earned it doing it here. But there's no real allocation. Hey, what happened to real-allocation? We were in.
You seemed like you were against it a few months ago, and now you're for it.
Hey, we had to go. Yeah, I don't know. That's a debate for another day. But he's going to have one more shot at it, and can he do it after the long college season and everything else? I don't know. With an Olympic spot on the line, there's plenty of motivation.
Yeah, what made you think he was a steepler?
He's just a good athlete. He moves well. He has great flexibility. I don't know that he was a solid softball player, right? I don't know that. So best.
He's not actually that good.
He's not that good. Usually our better athletes, we find out at cross country camp how well they play softball, and usually the better ones. Kenneth Rooks was amazing softball player, and we knew he was good.
Good softball.
Why hot who won?
White hot and won, he was 20.
Okay.
He's going 20.
There's no.
He's good next.
Well, then,
But he's just more than anything, just reflect. He took to the technical training.
I'm going to remove you guys. You guys are too choppy. All right, done with them. It was extremely choppy on the live show, but hey, if you're a supporters club member, it'll be crystal clear in the morning, because when we record this, we record an individual audio recording in each of our computers. So that should be recorded on their iPhone. Then we put it up on the podcast. It won't be a problem, but I got tired of hearing the chop. So it does look like there's a World Athletics, some sort of meet in Uzbekistan where there might be some bonus points, but someone's saying in the chat there's no steeplechase there. I don't think that's realistic. Can he go run 8:15, or does he even need 8:15? We'll have to see what the time that he needs. Anyway, so I've texted the guys and told them to get better internet and come back on. But it was cool to talk to Ed Eyestone there, to say he had big hopes for him. Just fascinating. He could be that bad at NCAAs. And I forgot he looked so good in the prelims here, 8:21. That can help him, though. You can use your prelim times. But the stupid thing about World Athletics is you don't get the bonus points. You can't use your bonus points from the final. Like, you should use bonus points. Like, to me, the bonus points and the time should be separate. But like, if you ran a tactical race and win a big championship, you don't get the bonus points. All right. Weldon and John have gone back into the stadium, and they were chasing down Ed Eyestone where there's not good internet, and have joined us. Guys, we had to take you off. He was so choppy. Hopefully it's recorded on your phone. It's crystal clear for the Supporters Club. By the way, join the Supporters Club today. Let'sRun.com/subscribe. You won't have to stay up till past midnight. You get a free shirt. And while you're signing up for Supporters Club, also go to betterrunningshoes.com, betterrunningshoes.com. Thank you for supporting the site. But tomorrow we're going to have a special guest on the podcast. So you definitely want it in your podcast feed. That's all I'm going to say right now.
Yeah, Robert, just to clarify from Coach Eyestone, because I think the internet might have been a little choppy, they do have something in the works for chasing the standard. They're allowed to chase the standard. It sounded like they might even have some help pacing. Kenneth Rooks doesn't need it. If you can get the U.S. steeple champ to help pace you, to the standard. So they're definitely going for it. And the interesting thing was there was this big workout. I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, Weldon, on Friday, 800, 1200s. And on the final rep of this workout, last one, big one going into the trials, James Corrigan was with Kenneth Rooks and then passed him and ran a 60 last lap over barriers. And Rooks had a 64. And after that, they were like, okay. And then Coach Isom was saying, like, I kind of have to, I worried, like, is that going to ding Rooks's mentality because he just got beat by this college kid who was, what, 8th or 9th in NCAAs. But turned out they were both very fit. And he always knew that Corrigan had a big kick. So there was a really cool thing that he was telling us. He's watching Rooks at the start, and then the Rooks at the start of the final
Yeah,
lap.
we heard.
Yeah.
At least I
Okay.
did.
Let's move on. Have we talked about the men's 100 yet? That was an amazing race. I mean, that was as much drama as you can pack into 10 seconds. And with Curly making the team on second straight time, an unsponsored person has made the U.S. team, if you don't count that Oakley sponsorship in the 100. So, I mean, that was just all the drama there.
John, don't try to compare Fred Curley to Cravon
No, I'm
Charleston.
just saying he competed. He ended unattached. Cravon Charleston was at least tracksmith.
But
I found the meet. There's the pin relay summer series, summer showcase number 3. It's at Franklin Field. There's no bonus points. It's a level F meet, which is the lowest, right, John?
Yeah.
So that's June 29th, which I think is what?
That's next Saturday.
Friday? Next Saturday?
Yeah.
So that's where Kenneth Rooks would be running.
Well, we don't know that for sure, but that's the deductive reasoning there. But I mean, how wild does that? Have we broken down the steeplechase? I mean, Robert, I want to talk about some races here. Did we break down that steeple? Like Evan Jager got 4th. That last lap was ridiculous. There was like 5 guys over the barrier for 4th place, and I'm watching that. I'm like, that's the Olympic team right there because Corrigan probably doesn't have it, and now Corrigan might get it. But it's gonna be. I mean, what's the standard? 8:15 flat. That's not going to be easy for him to do after running hard at the Olympic trials.
Yeah, but maybe we'll have to do the math. Go to Let's Run, read the article. We'll do the math to see if he needs to actually hit 8:15. But yeah,
I think he's going to because I think 1190 something is the final spot on the Road to Paris list. There are fewer entrants in the steeplechase than some of these other distance races, and right now his best performance before tonight was an 1161, and that was the 821 he ran in the trials. So in the prelims of the trials. So he needs a lot of points. I think really they're going to have to take a shot at the standard.
Or Uzbekistan. Which would you do, John? Penn, which is pretty windy a lot of the time. It's not a place.
I'm not going to
fast.
Uzbekistan.
I think I'd load it up and head to Uzbekistan, baby.
How many
there's no steeple. There's no steeple. I don't see Uzbekistan. Apparently, there's no steeple in the meet now. We'll determine. Okay. I don't know how many bonus points. So we got to see those bonus points. We'll look into that. But no, we did not see the drama because they weren't showing it on the camera angle. They're not focused on third for some reason on these meets, and we didn't see the drama. So I assume Yassine Soto of UVA does not have a standard either. He was 5th behind Jager. So it would have been Duncan Hamilton. It was actually the 2 teammates. Evan Jager, 8:28.73. Hamilton, 8:29.20. It's an elite at 8:29.95. I don't know if Jerry Burrata has it. So I wonder if some of those guys are kicking themselves thinking all I had to do was get 4th instead of run and get 3rd. Because, when Bohr flew by them. But we didn't really talk too much about that. In terms of the 100, John, people were asking me, like at the beginning of the show, how worried should I be? Someone said 4. To me, I just wanted Curley on the team. I don't see Coleman winning gold. He's shown nothing to me in the last couple of years that he's going to win the gold. Like he was getting run down by 60 meters by Lyles. Why would he be beating him over 100? Maybe he can get a bronze. But I think, okay,
he won
Curley,
the Diamond League final last year.
Okay, maybe he could. But I just thought Curly's won a world. Curly won a world. Curly's a rounds guy. He's big. He's powerful. He's had this drama with the shoe sponsor. If he makes his team now, that means he's getting better every round. And what can he do in 5 or 6 weeks? So that's what I was thinking. And I wanted Curly on this team.
I mean, Robert, if I were you, I'd be like an 8 or something right now, 8 or 9, because just everything has gone exactly to plan for Noah Lyles so far in 2024. He had a great indoor season. He beat Coleman in a 60 to win USA Indoors. I mean, how the hell did he do that? Now just shows up and takes care of business. Like he's got all the pressure and spotlight on him. He just shows up and gets it done, ties his personal best in the final. So, to me, if I were you, I'd be very worried. But I do like your logic on Curly there. He was asked about the shoe situation. He basically was like, didn't want to talk about it, but he did say like season starts today. He had that mindset. He's like, that whole thing, I've ended one chapter. This is the new chapter. And he's going to Paris. And this guy, look, he didn't make the final last year, but the 2 years before that, he was second and first. So he showed today he's a big meet performer. It's going to be exciting to watch. But I think Lyles is the clear favorite for the 100-meter gold right now.
But John, what was the time today?
983, then 987 for Benerick, 988 for Curly.
I mean, no room for error. I mean, and then
Coleman was on this team until 10 meters to go. He was, that is how he runs. He gets the lead, but he was on there for so long and just kind of ripped away at the finish line. Again, that's why the 100, that's why the Olympic trials is so amazing. But he was close, but he just didn't get quite enough distance. And Lyles is a closer. Benerick's got that 200 strength. He's a closer. And Curly just ran him down. I thought Coleman made the team when I watched it the first time, and I'm like, no, it was Curly. So,
yeah, the angles, a little bit different. It's interesting to hear Lance Brahm and Lyles' coach. He said he watches the races from the backstretch. It's like you can better see what's going on, which is farther away, but maybe not if you're up in the stands. But essentially, I think he said, TV, like a lot of people are confused. The outside lanes look like they're further behind than they are. But Christian Miller, the high school kid, 5th place.
Just consistently running sub 10s.
Well,
remember, before this year, the only person in the history of sprinting to break 10 seconds as a U.S. high schooler was Osama Singha, who did after high school last year. He did it in the summer, ran 989, and then was suspended for 4 years for testing positive for a banned substance. He's fighting that case. But then Miller comes along. He goes 993 in April. He goes 995 in the Penn relays. It's not Penn relays, at Penn, at the New Balance Nationals last week. And then 998 in the U.S. final to finish 5th. And the 4 guys who beat him, 3 of the last 4 world champions, the last 3 world champions and Kenny Bednarek. This is the hardest team to make in the world. And he was a 10th of a second away of making it as an 18-year-old. That is absolutely insane.
Yeah, he beat Courtney Lindsay. Lindsay has been running great this year.
Guys, I have found the Uzbekistan meet. It's called the Silk Road to Olympic. It is the World Athletics Continental Tour Bronze meet. I'm seeing June 28th and 29th. And now the problem is, if it's not on the thing, it's not on the schedule, you don't just get points. You have to have a certain amount of prize money per event for it to count as that level of bonus points. So if the steeple's not on there, that's not an option. They're saying the Franklin Field meet doesn't have a steeple, but that doesn't matter. You can add the steeple to Franklin Field, and then there's no bonus points. You just have to run the time. So
this is too inside baseball. They're not going to Uzbekistan. They're going to run a meet probably in the United States, probably this Franklin Field meet.
They were confident there is a meet that they will run at, and then other people will be there. So that is
all right, John. I wanted to keep these shows to 30 minutes, but we had at Ice on. Now we're over an hour, but we're just kind of repeating ourselves. Well, we talked about the 800, I think, when you were on here, but give me your team.
Say that. Sorry, ask that one more time, Robert.
Pick your women's 800-meter team for me.
My women's 800 team. Well, before the meet, I picked Thing Mo, Michaela Rose. Sorry, Thing Mo, Nia Akins, and Raven Rogers, I think. I'm not entirely confident in Raven Rogers, but I don't like betting against. I don't like having her on someone's shoulder with 100 to go and betting against her. So I'm looking at this. I'm going to stick with those. I think Mo will fight her way on there. She's tough. Kate Grace, this is a great story getting to the final, 158.97, but she's 35 years old, and the semis and final are on back-to-back days. Like, is she going to be able to produce a performance like that or something even better in the final? Oh, did I pick Sage Hodeklecka? I think it's probably... I would have it between Mo, Hodeklecka,
but John,
Akins, and Rogers. But I think I'm... Yeah, I need to remember who I picked in the prediction contest because that's who I'm rolling with.
You make a
Akins is
good
the one who
point,
surprised me today.
but what I'm saying is that it's going to benefit the 1500-meter runner types, which Kate Grace, Jerry Schumacher tried to turn on a 1500-meter runner. And yeah, she's getting older, which is a good point about the double harder, but also your testosterone goes up when you get older. That's why women get better when they're like 35. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fascinating. I agree with Brandon Garner, though. Our sport is so stupid. Just send the top 3 to Paris.
I know. Well, it's very interesting because we were joking with Ed Eyestone about that. Did you hear that portion? Because remember, in the marathon trials, they had the BYU guys, Mance and Young, were the 2 guys with the standard, and they're like, "Oh, this quota reallocation system is kind of unfair." And now they've got a guy in the steeple who doesn't have the standard but could go if we had a quota reallocation. And so it's I think the quota reallocation, it makes meets like this better. It makes it just very clear like who's on the team and who's not, which we're trying to make this a more exciting sport, so I think that's better. And look, you want to be in the Olympics, it's going to be hard. You got to get it done at the trials. That's the whole purpose. So I would
Wait,
like it
are
to
we
be
going to have
that way. Now, quick
um,
point about the women's 800. I guess for the record, I did pick her to Klecker in my prediction contest, so I'm just going to roll with her. But talked to a thing Mo in the mix zone and asked her a little bit about her injury because she really hasn't given a lot of details about exactly what happened. I wanted the timeline. So she said she got injured in April. And I asked her, how much time you missed, and she just kind of gave this wry smile and was hinting like, it was a little bit, And then I'm like, when did you get back to running? She said a couple weeks ago. So what I'm sometimes athletes will play it cautious, in their mixed zone interviews, they won't want to tell everything that happened to them until the final's over. But I am curious, like she had this mischievous grin on her face as if like there was something more to it or something like that. I mean,
A couple weeks ago, she said she started running a couple weeks ago.
resumed running. I mean, she got injured in April and resumed running a couple weeks ago, is what she said. So that in itself is pretty significant. If you're missing a chunk of time and you don't start running again until 2 weeks before the trials.
John, everyone else would be off the team. I mean, I guess Joan Benoit did something like that, but this is unbelievable.
But then the other thing, I'm like, if she said a couple weeks, I mean, part of me is like, is there a possibility like the trials is her first time running back since this injury? Like, is that totally crazy? I'm like, with her talent level, probably not. I'll take her at her word and say it was a couple weeks, but I'm interested to see what she says about the injury after the final.
I mean, I think there's a chance coming back tomorrow. She hasn't been running. There's a chance she doesn't make this team, which is just crazy. I mean, I want her on the team. I'm into this. I had come around that Jager was going to be on the team. Now I have to root against this kid. So just so much drama at the trials.
look,
There was a story of Sam Kendricks today. Robert, I don't know if were they playing this up on TV at all? So he wins the pole vault, 2019 world champion. After the prelims, he was essentially saying, I may not go to the Olympics if I make it. I'm so hacked off at the Olympics. And afterwards today, he said, I will go to the Olympics. He's against the Olympic movement. I mean, Sam's always been a very interesting interview.
Did
But
you talk to him, Walden?
today I did.
Okay.
And so in 2021, he tested positive for COVID and could not compete at the Olympics. And someone was telling me, and I didn't hear this part because it's the interview after prelims. He thought it was a false positive. They didn't go to bat for him, that sort of stuff. And then in 2022, he was the defending champion. He refused to get the COVID shot, and you were not allowed to compete here without the COVID shot. So he's one of the few guys who's stood up for what he believed in, and it cost him a chance to compete at Worlds in Eugene. He's still essentially saying, I'm from the South. We're cautious about things. They kind of want to do what they want to do. And it's just, it brought back a lot of memories with COVID and whatnot. Like, the world's, and it's just, COVID really impacted the Olympics in a lot of ways, right? Like Christian Coleman, he might be your 100-meter champion if we had Olympics in 2020. Instead, he's banned and misses out again today. I mean, wow. It's just very difficult. I think Mo would not be your Olympic champion if the Olympics had been in 2020.
Donovan Brazier would be your Olympic champion, most likely. Instead, he's, at this point, probably never going to make an Olympic team if he's not competing this year.
John, how old's Donovan Brazier now?
He was born in '97, so he's 27.
Wow.
I mean, he's gonna make the team at 31 years old.
Yes, John. Yes.
That will be
All right.
the story of stories if the 2019 world champ rises from the dead and makes the team. But yeah, the COVID thing that is interesting. I forgot about the 2022 world champs thing. I forgot the athletes had to be vaccinated, or was it only the American athletes? They can't possibly have been every athlete in the meet had to be vaccinated by 2022.
No, I think for foreign athletes to travel, it was a requirement, so they put the requirement on everybody.
To get into the country, right.
But at the time, I guess I'm not really following the Steeple. I didn't realize that prevented him. He had a bye and just skipped it. I just wasn't that aware of what was going on in the pole vault. But
Okay,
let's.
guys, we don't have all day. The average person has a job to get to on a Monday morning.
Well, some
They're
people are
not going to
watching
be listening
live,
to it.
and
An hour and a half podcast.
tomorrow we have a
But
Let's Run
listen,
meetup 3 p.m. If you're
listen.
listening, 3 p.m. at Minimums, 3 p.m. at Minimums. It's the day we've been waiting for. The men's 1500 meter final. Wait,
Listen,
and the women's 800
And women's 5K.
and the women's 5K.
Yeah, distance.
Wow, what a great day!
And men's
No,
400, where Quincy Wilson. Do we talk about Quincy Wilson breaking the high school record again? He could make the team at 16 years old.
he's not going to make the team, John.
He had the fourth fastest qualifying time. He's run 44.6 and 44.5 in the prelims and semis, Robert. If
He
you
could
told
make
me
it, yes.
he could, I mean, what's the reasoning? Just because he's 16?
Michael
he could
Norman.
fall off, but he looked even better than he
They
did
asked
in
another
prelims.
high school phenom, Michael Norman, can you make the team? And he essentially didn't want to say it, but kind of hesitated. But then essentially said no. He's like, coming the rounds is going to do him in. Coming back, he thought, like 3 rounds. You're just not used to
Okay,
doing that in high school.
should I announce who's going to be on the show tomorrow or not?
No. Tune in tomorrow
If they're
night.
still listening at this point in the show, I don't really mind.
No, don't.
All right.
Do we have confirmation? We need to put it on the website on the front page tomorrow so people know to come. What's the point of having a big guest for a live show if we don't have them on?
Oh, telling people there's a big guest right now. You don't want to miss it.
Wait,
And you can show
Anyways,
you can get it as a
God,
podcast.
there was a press conference tomorrow. The meet's going to be on TV for 3 hours from 8 to 11 on NBC. But these people, I don't want to be Debbie Downer. By the way, if my battery goes out, I'm done. But like the TV window makes no sense. You're going to have this meet on television. We're trying to promote track and field. I've been enjoying the broadcast. But if you look at the schedule tomorrow, they don't have the men's 1500 meter last. They should play that up. The last event is at 10:32. It's the women's 800. Then they have 24 minutes to fill with no events going on. It's so stupid. They should move the 1500 to the end, play it up, talk about Ingebrigtsen, Kerr, Whiteman, get people ready for the summer, the greatest event, have Centrowitz come on, whatever. Like Max Siegel is not leading the sport forward at all. Like Craig Masbach at least got when Alan Webb was a thing back in the early 2000s. He got that race shown live on SportsCenter back when SportsCenter was a thing. It's just like, okay, we need to do this. Instead, we're going to have the men's 1500 meter final 8:47. It's going to be the first, one of the main things, first final on television. Then they're going to show 30 minutes of the women's steeple prelims. Are you kidding? Are they going to bore people out of their mind? They should not have the women's steeple prelims on the national TV window. And they should not have 25 minutes of nothing. So when you ask Max Siegel, by the way, when John went to his press conference and asked Max Siegel about sort of the lack of information of some of these meets, he said, "Oh, you always have good questions." He's being sarcastic, right? Please explain your interaction with Max, what you asked him, and what he said, what else he said in his press conference today.
Right. So, well, the big news from the press conference was the head of the LA Olympic Organizing Committee for 2028, Casey Wasserman, basically said it's unlikely that the 2028 Olympic trials will be held in the LA Coliseum. And that we had it in 96, the trials were in the Olympic Stadium. In 84, the trials were in the Olympic Stadium. The last two times the U.S. hosted the Olympics. This time, it looks like that's not going to happen. Max Siegel
That's great
said,
news.
Yeah.
It's great news for me. I don't want it in Eugene, but I didn't want it in LA. It's too big of a stadium. LA's going to have, you want to keep it separate. You want to move it around. Everyone in America is going to be excited. This would be a small town. I mean, Cincinnati, Portland, Maine, Atlanta, I mean, anywhere, Des Moines, something like that. Like, they would be thrilled to have it.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of effort and stuff to go into hosting that. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day, but that is the news item. My prediction is going to be Eugene 2028. But
let me point this. It's not hard to host a track meet. It really isn't. You have to have a stadium, and high schools host track meets. Now, it's hard to have the money that USATF wants. So I would just fire Max Siegel right now, save the money for 4 years, and you'd have $4 or $5 million that you could spend on this damn track meet, and you could put it anywhere in America. Thank you very much. What else does Max have to say?
The other thing, I asked him about these meets because he's talking about building the sport and pushing it forward in the window between the 2022 Worlds and 2028 Olympics. And as part of that, they've started this series of meets. They've got the NYC Grand Prix, they've got the LA Grand Prix, and they've got the Bermuda Games. And I actually think the NYC Grand Prix has gone pretty well the last couple of years. It's not a huge stadium. It seems like they've gotten pretty good crowds there and decent races. But the LA Grand Prix and the Bermuda Games was promoted barely at all. There was almost no information about anyone who was competing in that, even days before the meet. And I tune in to watch, and I don't even know who's racing essentially. And then the LA Grand Prix, Rich Perelman reported from the Sportsnet Examiner reported they didn't even put tickets on sales until 12 days before the meet. And you didn't find out who was running some of those races until the day of the meet. It's just the lack of, I thought it was a jarring lack of promotion. So I essentially asked Max, what do you think about how these things are promoted? You're trying to promote the sport and build up interest in this country, and it was handled pretty shambolically. It wasn't I'm paraphrasing here, but I asked him, like, what did you think about how they were promoted and how can you improve it? And then his response was, well, you always have such positive questions, Jonathan. And I was like, yeah, my job isn't to bow down at the altar of Matt Siegel. My job is to ask questions, to be a journalist. I was doing my job, so I didn't have any problem with the question. And his
It's a
answer
good thing
was
I wasn't
essentially,
there.
sorry, his answer was that they are, these meets, they only started a couple of years ago and they're still building and they're working on things. And I'm like, okay, that is true, but the Bermuda Games has been around. This is like the third year now, and it's the people who are putting these on. The LA Grand Prix, these people have put on meets before. Some of this stuff is like
Okay,
basic,
listen,
like
nobody
promote
wants to
that
talk.
this star is running it.
Everyone in the
The,
message board saying, "Stop talking about Max. He's a clown. Stop talking about him." I agree, but it's disgraceful that the
The one who
1500
wanted me to
isn't.
talk about.
It's disgraceful that the 1500 is not moved to the last event tomorrow. Like, why isn't this done? What are they
Covered a
going to do
thing,
for 20
Mo.
minutes?
She's a big deal. She's the second face of Nike running in America.
She's a bigger
So what are
star
they
than
putting?
anyone in the men's 1500.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
a fact.
and she's an Olympic champion. So put her last, and then put the 1500 830. Like, why are they going to have a 25-minute window when there's no action?
Okay, you said a way to go. Like, you guys harp on this like crazy stuff. It's weird. No one really actually wants to hear this. It's going to be an amazing day tomorrow. You need to join the Supporters Club. If you don't have to watch this live, you get a daily podcast. You get T-shirts we send up for you. You get savings and running shoes. Best club in running. Join today. Let'sRun.com. And also, right now, like us on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe so you'll know we're going to go live because the show changes times. And go to betterrunningshoes.com. Betterrunningshoes.com. You can great deals on running shoes. Brooks Ghosts 15, I think, $99. Check it out now. You can find the best rated shoes, find the new shoes.
And don't miss the show tomorrow night. The special guest is one you're going to want to tune in for. We've got a lot of great events to discuss, and the meet ends a little earlier on the East Coast than the last few nights. So we'll see you tomorrow from Eugene. Thanks for listening, everyone.